Welcome back, everybody, as we dive in to the Elevate the Enterprise series. This week, we talk about the Switch. Now, it's not the Nintendo Switch, but it's still important to an organization. Switches, you still need them. Even though you might be wireless-centric, you still need these access points and these devices that are not wireless to plug into something. And those are the switches. Whether it's Meraki and you're using the MS series or it's Catalyst. Cisco gives you the flexibility to manage how you want and to manage to the use cases that you have in your organization, whether that's on-prem or in the cloud. So we're going to take a look at what we can do with Meraki and what we can do with Catalyst this week as we talk about switches. You're probably asking yourself, David, we've been talking about Meraki. Have you switched over to Catalyst already? No, but things are coming together. So as you can see here, we have a Catalyst 9300 that allows you to have the Meraki persona and you can manage it in the cloud, in the dashboard. Or if you want to continue to manage on-prem with Catalyst Center, that's not going away. You can do that as well. It's all about flexibility and making sure we can reach each of the use cases that you might have in your organization. So take a look at what's out there because I'm sure there's a switch for you, and this will continue to grow. You will continue to see different flavors of Catalyst 9Ks that will continue to be added here, allowing you to manage them in the dashboard. Now, for some of your catalysts, you can monitor them in that dashboard, and that's something that we'll take a look at in a little bit. I'll include the link to the site, but as you can see here, small, medium, large, whatever the use case and the need is, there's an MS or a Catalyst switch out there for you, even ruggedized switches. So take a look at what's out there on the website. Now today, we're going to spend some time in my lab. I have two switches. They're just access switches that I have here. I'm not doing much with them. I have the lab connected to them. Layer 3 happens on my Firepower 1010. And if you missed the last video, go back to YouTube and take a look at the ways that you can manage firepower. One of them is CDFMC, and I took a look at that last time. So now let's take a look at the switches. We'll go over to switching. We'll go over to switches. Here you can manage those catalysts that are supported. You can manage the MS switches in the dashboard, in the cloud. You can apply mass changes to your ports. You can apply different changes and templates to the different switches and switch ports, all from the dashboard. You can troubleshoot what's going on with your clients, all from the dashboard. So as you can see here, I have an MS120, a 24-port switch, and I also have an MS220, an 8-port switch. That's the one that has PoE in my environment. That's where I have an access point and a Cisco 8841 connected to. We're going to take a look at that one. We'll click on switch number 2, which is the small one. All right, as we can see here, we brought up switch number 2. We see the ports, we see what's happening, if there's some use on these ports, and you can see that these are the two that are consuming PoE. We see what VLAN they are. We can also see that information below. You'll see the access point in the phone, MAC addresses, IP address, VLAN information. You'll see everything there. You'll see more information about the switch. If you wanted to configure some of these ports, you can drill in as well. So we'll take a look at port number 6. That's the one that has my phone. You can see information there. If I wanted to configure this switch port, I can do that individually. One of the things that's newer, that is early access that you can sign up for, is SmartPorts automation. We're going to dive into that in a little bit. I want to apply some automation where any of the phones that I connect, they'll automatically get the SmartPort profile that I will create. We can see information on what's connected to this port. Again, all from the dashboard. We can see that this one is the Cisco phone. What I want to do for now is I want to copy this right here because I'm going to use it in the SmartPorts. All right. More things you can do here. Troubleshooting. If you wanted to bounce this port because something's going on, you can do that. If you want to perform a cable test, you can do that all from the dashboard. Packet capture, it's right there as well. Information on what this device is doing, it's right there as well. And again, this is all cloud friendly and automation and API friendly. So there's a lot you can do with what you see here. We can see there information on the right side as well. The switch has been up 70 days. And you can also access information here like the power, what's happening, different tools that are out there, of course, that you can take advantage of too. Now let's get to the port profile because that's what I want to play around with today. I signed up for early access. I haven't played around with those smart ports. So we're going to play around with that. Let's go over to organization and we'll see that SmartPorts is there because I've signed up for that early access. Now, if you're a network admin, you'll see SmartPorts under switching. If you're an org admin, you'll see SmartPorts here, right under organizations. We'll click on SmartPorts. I have nothing created, so let's go ahead and create the first profile. I'll name this phone ports. Organization-wide, this will be an access port. I'll leave it on VLAN 1. That's what I have it in the lab. Of course, that'll vary for your organization. My voice VLAN is VLAN 4 here in the lab. If I wanted to apply different configurations, I can there as well. Storm control is not supported in my 220 if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to leave everything else the same and we'll click save. So it's as easy as that, where I can go ahead and just take that profile and apply it to ports, but I want to add some of the automation behind it, and that's where SmartPorts shine. So we'll click on automations. We'll click on create your first automation. We'll say phone automation as the name here. Apply, I can't spell today. Apply a profile to phones. All right. Then we have triggers and actions. So let's take a look at what we can do. We'll create our first trigger. What is the profile that I want to apply? So as you can see there, it's necessary to create those profiles first. We'll click on phone ports. What do I want to match on? As of right now, the options are MAC address and LLDP. I want to do LLDP. That way I can get more information from what's happening from the switch. So I'll take a look at LLDP, the system description, and what's the match criteria. So if you remember, I copied information from that phone that I saw in LLDP. So we'll paste that, Cisco IP phone 8841. And let's say I add different flavors of 8800s. Let's put a wildcard there. We'll add that. There's other conditions that I can add if I wanted to get really specific. So if I wanted to mix up this OUI and other LLDP information, I can do that as well. All right, so we have that. Default action. What do I want to do if the settings of no triggers match? I just want to use the existing port configuration. I don't want to do anything there. Let's take a look at where I want to target this. So I want to target this on this switch. And honestly, I don't want to target that profile on all the ports. And let's pick port 6. We'll just do that as the test because that's where the phone is anyways. But as you can see there, you have the flexibility to apply it to different ports. We'll click add. All right. Now let's go over to, well, actually let's save. Let's make sure we save that. The automation may result in temporary network disruptions. Are you sure? And these warnings are good. Again, the changes that you're doing in your network, I always advise you to do them in a lab. Don't just do it in production. I know you want to, but don't. We'll click confirm. All right, phone automation. So we want to apply. So really anything that comes up with that LLDP, that's really what should have this phone automation. It should apply the VLAN, anything else that you had in there, if it was PoE or other settings, it'll apply to those ports. Let's go back to switching. Let's go to switch ports. If you wanted to make some mass changes here to the different ports and you wanted to cluster them together, you wanted to stack them together, you can see the different switches in here. So I can see switch 1 and switch 2 ports. So this is the way that I can make changes. It's pretty much like stacking. Let's take a look at switch 2 and we'll take a look at that phone port, port 6. Click on that. And you can see there that it already applied that SmartPorts automation, phone automation, SmartPorts profile. We'll leave that disabled because I don't want to apply the profile by itself, but this is where you would come to apply that profile. So we'll leave that disabled because I want to take advantage of the automation. So as you can see there, the phone automation is being used on that port. And really anything that comes up, if I apply this to different ports that has that LLDP and the wildcard, of course, anything beyond that will apply. So we'll close that out. Easy to use, easy to manage these switches. Now, I do want to dive into the monitoring aspect of things. We were talking about Catalyst a little bit and how you can bring in Catalyst devices and you can manage them, some flavors of Catalyst right now, or you can monitor them. So if you're curious of what you can get out of the dashboard for your Catalyst environment, that's where monitoring comes in. Let's take a look at what that looks like. We'll go over to a different tab here. There we go. Now I'm in a different environment. This is not my lab. I definitely do not have 14 switches. And I want to take a look at the switches there. We'll take a look at the switches because I want to show you what monitoring looks like. With a couple of commands, you can bring in your Catalyst devices into the dashboard for monitoring information and eventually, perhaps for management on some of those. So as you can see there, there's a couple of switches here, a bunch of 390s. These are MSs that of course are being managed with the dashboard, but you can also see two 9548Y4Cs that are there, and they have the monitor only tag. So I will click on that. That means that 9500, you're not managing it, you're not making changes there on the 9500, but at least you see it on the dashboard. And instead of having all these different areas and different places and different solutions that you're managing and monitoring with over time, you can use the dashboard to manage, monitor at first and then manage your environment. I can't really make a change to what's happening here, but I can see information on the switch ports. And it gives me information and it lets me at least dive in and monitor this 9500. So that's something that's recent. Continue to take a look at that because the possibilities are endless. Again, if you want to manage in the cloud, you can do that. If you want to manage on-prem, Catalyst Center is there. It's not going away. Continue to use it. The flexibility is out there, and that's what Cisco is providing to meet you and your use cases and your needs. So let's talk about it and let's continue this conversation. I appreciate you coming along here for this adventure today. Let's meet on the next one. Let's continue to elevate the enterprise.